My name's James Piecowye. This is Podaholiks, and this is Tech Talk with Andrew Thomas from digitalnexa.com, which means for the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to be talking about the technology that matters in your world, things that are going on today, things that went on yesterday, stuff you need to be looking at. Here we go. This is Tech Talk. So, Andrew, it's been a while. It's nice to catch up.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah. I'm doing well. So, tell me about your fatigue with working online. How are you coping? Because
it's big news, right?
Oh man,
it's big news.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think the interesting one. I think there was an article that a friend Glenn shared from the National Geographic. There's another one from Business Insider. They're saying that the connection, the slight kind of delay in people's emotions and reactions is causing some of this feeling where you just feel like, So I think I think also the fact is that it's as crazy as it sounds, you're a lot more accessible. So obviously, that's it as well.
Well, I always think about when we would get together and we would do our own podcasts or meetings or things. And, you'd come from another meeting. So you'd go to a meeting, you'd have that meeting for an hour and a half. Then you'd get in a car, you'd be in the car for 20, 30 minutes. You'd get to de-stress, you'd make a few phone calls, you'd catch up, you'd figure out, okay, where am I going? Get on the lift, then come and do the thing. Now, I saw your calendar yesterday because we were talking about doing our group of five
group thing.
And you said there's no way I can do it, and your calendar is 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm looking at this going, when does the guy go to the washroom?
Interestingly enough, we did a demo the other day for HubSpot, and it was 2 hours and 40 minutes. And I was kind of the young lady who was doing the demo, I was like, she's got to pee soon, I think. This is like 2 hours and 40 minutes. So it's obviously we find ourselves in a bit of an unusual time at the moment. So there's if someone wants to have a meeting, let's have a meeting, let's talk. So I think obviously at the moment, just during this period, that it's that essentially, it's a reason it's back to back to back to back. But you kind of, it's only when you look the next day and you realize that you are back to back that then you start to think, like you said, how do you prepare for the next meeting? How do you do that? So similarly, I think where in your world, in the teaching world, where it's kind of, you're doing a lot more prep, you're kind of working things out before, I'm finding I'm doing that as well. So it's kind of late last night working out basically today's schedule, because as you mentioned, there's nothing in between. Right?
Yeah.
So you don't have that ability to, and even something as crazy as grab a coffee, right? And kind of get that natural breaks. So, but obviously, I'm super happy in the sense that obviously we're busy, right? I don't want to not be busy. I'd rather have my calendar full than empty, right?
Well, and I guess again, we're in a kind of an interesting phase where around the world people are starting to open up again. They're starting to relax things a little bit, but it's relaxed with some prudence. So. This, the new normal is somewhere between everyone is going everywhere and meeting face to face, and a combination of what we do now and some of these online meetings, which can be as effective as a face to face. Yeah,
I had my first request yesterday for a meeting, and they were like, "Oh, can we meet?" And I'm like, meet?" And they were like, "Yeah." I said, okay. I said, look, we can do a Zoom tomorrow, or I can't meet until the end of the week. And he's like, okay, let's do Zoom. So, I think, they're starting to open up a bit. We've kind of maintained the office. We're very fortunate. We can all work from home and crack on and do our things. So, I think it's good for some of the other kind of organizations. What was interesting yesterday from a tech perspective is I chaired a webinar with head of digital for Nissan regionally, head of Michelin, and head of Kuwait Foods, which is Americana, and was talking to them about technology and what's happened. And they just said that everything that we had in place, as far as, almost kind of revolutionizing their space from a tech perspective, has been accelerated.
Wow.
So the guy at Nissan was talking about, virtual showrooms. He said that there was a live broadcasting China where they sold a whole bunch of cars over an 11-hour period, where they were just doing live auctions, and he said, so Michelin were looking at online service, for your car. So you kind of book online, you get delivery, someone picks it up or someone comes to you. And then obviously quality Kuwait foods are all, Hardee's, Pizza Hut, KFC, all of those guys obviously were geared up to a certain extent for online, but, there's still been all the contactless delivery, contactless payments. So they said things like adoption of contactless payment and credit card. That was always almost like the barrier to proper e-commerce rollout here, just a reluctance to people to use tap and pay or credit. Yeah. And now everyone's encouraged to, even the government's actively encouraged us not to use cash. So you're going to see this surge in kind of online tech and everything else associated to that. People moving. I mean, even, I didn't put it in the notes, sorry, but even Carrefour revamped their website just over the weekend, and not really big news, and I'm quite surprised why not, but they turned into a mall portal. Yeah. So you go on there now, and their tenants, you can go into their online store. Wow. So like, the little guys, 050 Telecom, that had these little pop-ups, in malls where that you can buy, phones and covers. Those dudes have now got an online store thanks to Carrefour. Yeah. So everyone, and that's a short period of time, right? I mean, Noon did that a couple of weeks ago for all of their Dubai Mall residents. You could kind of cross it, and you kind of get it because it's the same company ultimately. But what was interesting is how Carrefour have done it now. Yeah. So, I mean, you can go on it, go and have a look later. You can get, beauty electronics, and not from Carrefour. So yeah, you can buy electronics from Carrefour, but you can also buy it from another tenant who's
that's pretty cool.
The Mac Mall. Very cool. So I think that there's what this has done is it's created momentum, right, and necessity.
So the malls are starting to open up globally, but also here in Dubai. Do you think, from what you're seeing with Carrefour, with what Noon's doing, with Amazon's gone crazy? Anecdotal, we got a delivery yesterday from Amazon. They're so overloaded. It came with a taxi driver who had a trunk or a boot full of packages. Wow. He and my wife went out to pick it up. She said he must have had about 100 packages in there. Really? And he had to go through each one to find what he was looking for. But they were commandeering taxis to do deliveries. And
that's great though, right? At least those guys are working.
So we were like, holy, this is great. I mean, this shows us how far over the top the adoption has come for this. You in this industry, so you're talking to Nissan, you're talking to Americana, you're talking to Michelin, you are obviously talking to lots of people. As you said, you're really busy, you work in the digital sphere. Do you think we will dial it back, or do you think malls, well, obviously we'll dial it back because people like the social aspect of walking around, but do you think in the near future we're going to see what the kind of mall business that we used to have, or is this online going to become the new normal?
I think there's going to be a combination. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say to me, I don't know why I didn't order online before. Yeah. I'm only doing one ordering online. I'm only doing this. I'm only doing that. Especially with, I don't know, working parents, busy mums, where shopping is a necessity versus a pleasure. Yeah. I think there's a real difference between people where, you go to the mall, you browse, you have a look around, versus someone that needs to go there, get their stuff and come home, right? Because they've got responsibility. So I think that a lot of the malls here are transitioning into more lifestyle F&B driven, in the sense that you go there for a coffee, you're going to meet a buddy. You wouldn't necessarily go there to shop. So look, I think there's still some challenges, and something like I'm looking to get a bike at the moment, and I'm looking online, and I've seen one that I liked, but I'd still actually prefer to see it. Yeah. Well, and so I think I think there's some purchases and possibly some higher purchase points that will make sense to go and look and shop and compare. But at least you do your research online. You kind of see what it is. You see a price comparison. And if you find something, ultimately you may come back and just buy it online anyway. Yeah. So it's kind of, I think, what's interesting is the guy Hussein was talking from Nissan yesterday, how car showrooms are probably going to change. So they're going to be this kind of pop up in a mall where you get to experience, touch and feel the car, but you won't actually buy it there. And that's when I said, well, Elon's way ahead of this, right? I mean, if you
there's no Tesla showroom.
Yeah, you can't buy a Tesla in a Tesla showroom. Even if you went in with cash, it's like, no, this is just it. I'm not here to sell you anything. Here's the car. You drive it, you play around with it, you have fun, and if you want it, go online and buy it. So I think that you're going to see more of those experiential or lifestyle retail spaces that are almost just there to test and feel and touch. But some of these things, I mean, I've even me that buys a lot online, I've found that what this has done is given me a bit of time to buy some things that I've wanted for ages. So I bought a Mac stand. Yeah. Because I don't like this. Obviously, I prefer this. Yeah. Right. And you know that in your I think your lesson number 2 or 3 was was
get yourself framed.
Yeah, exactly. So I bought one of those things, and it's one of those that that's not something I'd definitely go to a mall to go for, if that makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, I think, I mean, look, we're lucky here in the sense that Amazon hasn't changed their policy on what can be delivered. So in the States now, they're moving towards essential items. So you can only order essential items.
Oh, really?
Right. And they're determining what's essential. So it's not, I don't know, for me, for example, a Mac stand probably wouldn't be classed as essential. An iPhone cover, not really essential, right? Yeah. So I think you're going to see it's exposing people to online shopping that they've never done before. And then also people like me, and I think you, who shop online anyway, have discovered other things like, the pharmacies on Talabat, the food delivery.
Who would have known?
Why? Yeah, and in all honesty, why would I go to the shops just if I need milk? Yeah. Or like water or whatever. I mean, so I think this is what's interesting. We've just seen an acceleration in people that are interested in e-commerce. So everyone wants to, hey, listen, I've got a store. I've never looked online. I need to be online, Yeah. But I also think on the flip side of this, it's going to be, as soon as they open up, people are going to get forgetful, and it's going to be, oh no, I'll worry about that game. But I think it's shown that the online space is crucial, right? Again, strong delivery partners. Sorry, James. So the other thing is, people, when they think about an e-commerce site, they just think, oh, platform. Is it Shopify? Is it WooCommerce? Is it Magento? It's not about that, really. It's about logistically, can you get your products to the person who wants them?
People don't think about that, and this is the one that kills me. And you must become the evangelical wizard of online, who's constantly saying to people, "Can you get the product to people's homes? Great that they can order it. How are you going to get it there?" And people must look at you, and go, "I don't know." Well, you need a partner.
Yeah, customer service. It's just. At the end of the day, it is really that customer service element that a lot of people, this webinar that we did yesterday was all around customer experience and customer happiness, and really how the direct conversation was how consumers and customers have changed during this time, how they like to be communicated with, where do they want to find their information. So it's, as much as people are kind of spending a lot of time online, a lot of people are working online now, and I don't know, that may even be a turn off. If you're sitting working online the entire time, you may not want to go on social media as much and kind of see what's going on.
What were they finding with Americana when they were talking about customer happiness and that customer service aspect? Because they're in the front line.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly for them, so a lot of their experiential activity is in store, obviously. So they have a lot of dine-in customers, and they have a lot of takeout customers. So they kind of, at the moment, it was interesting from a data standpoint, they're not sure how much of a transition there is online, or that those people would never order or not order. So they're kind of collating data at the moment to understand the space. I was arguing yesterday that I think, Krispy Kreme is a necessity, right? And essential. So I think that in some respects they were set up to take deliveries and take orders, but also their dining business is huge. Yeah. I mean, you think, Pizza Hut, TGI Fridays, KFC. I mean, you just think like sit here and sit back. And for me, it's KFC. So I think I've spoken about this before. I'm a mad chicken fan. And when I think about if I go to Northern Emirates and drive, I'll drive past, I don't know, 20 KFCs, right? And all of those places have been closed. So all of that business is not there. Yeah. And frankly speaking, some of those people, it might be a lunchtime thing. It might be, you pop out of the office and grab a bite to eat. And people are just not doing that. I mean, the guy from Deliveroo was saying that lunchtime traffic is dropped off a cliff. Really? Just no one's ordering at lunch. Yeah. But let's see. I mean, now it's starting. But a lot of their thing was all around contactless delivery. So they spent a lot of time changing the way that they do delivery and educating their drivers. And, there's the package, there's on the table, there's the money, ring the bell, step back. There's a lot of training that goes into it. Well, and education.
I think it's that some of this stuff is just common sense, and I hate to say it, but generally as human beings, we don't do well with common sense. Sometimes we just figure, everyone knows, everyone will get it, and it seems to be across the board. The little things people think, they just don't think about it. Well, everyone knows that. No, they don't. No, they don't. You got to constantly practice it, constantly reinforce it. When do you guys, I mean, again, you have a physical presence. When are you going to start repopulating your office?
I think that's a decision we'll take on a kind of weekly basis at the moment. We did a kickoff on Sunday with the guys and the team, and we just said, listen, as much as we're all practicing social distancing as families, as a company, and that we've sent a lot of educational material out to our guys. When we go back to a building, we're in a public space again, and we don't know how much those other individuals are. So again, for the sake of risk, we are an industry again that can work remotely. So why would we go back? I mean, we're connected with I think we spoke about this before, but a global agency network. And we heard in Singapore, when they went back and started doing some of this, they trebled their cases. So I think, I appreciate that at the moment things have been eased off probably because of Ramadan and it was part of the phased approach, which is amazing. But, from a work perspective, we're not a restaurant. We're not a place of business that needs people to come to and see us like a print workshop or anything like that. So I think, it's almost our duty to not go in, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, we let the restaurants open. Amazing. I mean, we know, right? We know firsthand from our restaurant and hotel business how hard they're hurting. So let that kind of go through. And, we don't need to be going in. We don't need to be on the road. We don't need to be adding an extra few people in Carrefour during the day. So let's leave it at the moment.
I almost wonder if we're going to see a shift in some workplaces. In your company is a great example of that. You still have a storefront presence, a smaller space maybe, but leverage more of the cooperative workspaces around the city so that folks don't have to be at home. You could have 3 or 4 memberships where you've got teams working out of places like the Nest or over on the QE2 and have your workspace where you've got a physical presence, much smaller, and people working from home. And if people, I think what we've learned, and for me, what we've learned from online meeting with our Zooms and our other methods, whether we with the old school Skype, which is doing some cool stuff now as well, or Cisco, WebEx, those guys are really knocking it as well. But I think if people, once they realize they can do it, and if people manage their time well, it can be very effective to not have to waste the hour to get into work. I'm sure you've got some folks who come into your office from Sharjah or further away.
Yeah.
They're looking at an hour and a half commute each way on that's 3 hours a day.
I think I can't. I'll be honest. I think nothing beats like interaction and human collaboration. There's definitely. So there's, as much as we've been working well, there's things like when you're working on pitches, where I wanted to sit with a designer yesterday. And that's tough to do in this scenario. I think obviously that's a challenge, but you kind of overcome it. So I think they're talking about, I guess they're talking about in China, I think Tata that was India. Trying to think who was it? It was a Chinese company that was saying that 30% of their workforce will never work again in the office. Wow. They'll just work remotely.
Wow.
I think what it potentially has done in this part of the world is it has opened up the idea of remote working.
Yeah.
So there's always been a reluctance, I think, here to understand that. It's common, in the States, in Europe, for people to work home, and they may work from home a couple of days a week or a full day, whatever. Here, there's always been a bit of reluctance to do it, right? Well, they're actually working. I think there's that kind of old school mentality. Yeah. So I think what it's done is it's shown that people do work and they work hard, sometimes harder, in the home space. So I think, everyone's looking forward to everyone being back and normal. I miss the office. I think everyone misses the office. You miss the camaraderie. You miss kind of human interaction. Again, though, we just don't. We open it up, and then people perhaps come in, and we put ourselves back a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So thankfully at the moment it looks as though our team has been unaffected, and we obviously shut the office earlier than most. I think we were in line with US and European companies in that sense for our staff. We were still going in. But we ourselves were social distancing because there was only 5 of us. We were in together, and so, I think let's see. The technology's there, right? Facebook even launched Rooms to kind of directly compete to Zoom a couple of days ago. So there's going to be more collaborative tools online. There's going to be more, I think, tech that kind of is just born out of this. I think you're going to see a whole lot of tech in the kind of cleanliness space as well. I saw something on Virgin, like a UV light box or something that cleans your mobile devices and that kind of thing. And that was. I think you're going to see a lot more of that kind of tech. People that are starting to use tech and cleanliness and medical or something around that. There has to be, because it's on people's minds. Yeah. So I think, people are going to be thinking, okay, that's a good idea. Or something as crazy as something I think that would be cool would be an automatic glove blower. So you it blows the air in the glove, and then you put your gloves in and you're away. Trying to sit there yesterday and trying to put these latex things on was quite amusing. So I think you're going to see more of that in the tech space, but obviously we'll have to see how that. And look, we've seen it already with Dyson that have changed their manufacturing lines to manufacture the ventilation. SpaceX are using theirs to create ventilation machines. So you've seen tech in motion to combat the current environment. Interestingly enough, so I sat on a LinkedIn webinar last week, and it was very interesting. So they were just talking about where we are at the moment, and they were talking about the spike in COVID-19 posts and all the everything, a load of data around it. I'll share it with you, actually. I think you find it interesting. But what was interesting is the fatigue associated to it. So it's almost now you have to make a transition away from current times, COVID-19 situation, new normal, and just talk now. Yeah, because it's kind of like everyone knows. Do you know what I mean? And I was saying you don't necessarily have to address the fact. It's almost like it's something like it's a celebration in the sense or an event that everyone knows about. Let's say like Christmas or Eid. You don't kind of sit there and go, it's Eid today. And it's kind of like at the moment they were talking about the fact how communication at the moment is changing now. So it's kind of, this is happening. It's not it's not in the distance.
Right. I think it'll really be interesting to see, because we've gone from one extreme where we were kind of disconnected digitally. We've gone to now we're a very digitally connected, and now we've still got our old systems, our old infrastructures, our old methods. Which when we're talking old, we're talking 7 weeks. They're still there. It's like,
that's brilliant.
like,
that's true, man.
When in our life would you say, "Oh yeah, the old way"? And I'm thinking the old way when you put up a post from the 1998 web surf, some guy in Japan. I couldn't believe that. I'm looking at that. I'm going, that's a DOS search system. He's just got DOS code. That 1998, there's nothing there. I remember 1998. I remember that.
Exactly. And the thing that caught me as well was Winamp.
Yes.
They were like, "Can you remember Winamp?" I was like, "Yes, that was the first MP3 player that, the whole debate around is MP3 too compressed? Is the sound quality not as good?" That kind of flashback was funny as far as how things look. And like you said, I mean, we could do a flashback now and it would be 7 weeks old.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be interesting what happens in another 7 weeks. How, where does it, and people are asking, you hear around the world, when are people going to go back to school? What's that going to be like? And what about our schooling at the university level? What's that going to be like? And we, at universities, I mean, my institution, Zide University, has done some phenomenal things, but all academic institutions around the world, they don't move fast. Like, they are big committee-driven boats that we're talking ocean liners. It takes a lot to slow them down and a lot to turn them around. This has really challenged us to be change agents. So it's kind of cool, but we'll see.
I think that's really, like, it's a case of you have to.
Yeah,
it's not, no one can sit back and wait. I think I saw a broadcast last night with Grant Covey, Spencer Lodge, who had him on last night. It was very good, actually. Grant Covey's, that big dude in the States, big real estate magnate, and he was talking about the fact that they went in crisis mode for, I think he said 72 hours, and then that was it, and then it was growth mode. Okay, so what do we do? Yeah. How do we continue? And I think that's definitely seems to be two camps. People that have kind of, okay, fine, this is it. Let's crack on. Let's go on it. And they're doing well, I believe. And there's another camp that kind of sat back and went, what do we do? How do we do it? And they're still talking about that. Yeah. And that's a challenge in itself, to kind of, you need to get past that, and it's tough. I mean, I think, especially if you're in an industry that is massively affected, like hospitality. I mean, they said that, I think the guy, CEO of Marriott, was talking about 90% revenue down. Man. I mean, no business can survive that. That's not, and no one's working on a 90% net, margin. Yeah. So, except sunglasses, I think they have a pretty good. But I think all perfume or aftershave. Oh yeah, the perfume guys, they've got to be working on 1,000% margin. I mean, I can never figure. You know what? Sorry, go on. I was going to say the impact on that as well, right? Oh, for sure. Oh, that was it. This was interesting. Michelin was saying yesterday. She said they're testing the option of prices of tires on usage. Ah. So because people are going to be going out less, because people are using their car less, the tires are going to have less wear. So they're looking at, pricing options to do charging by the kilometer. Okay. Which I was like, how does that work? Yeah, that's a cool idea. Very cool, right? Yeah. But never would have happened if we weren't where we were. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, crazy. Pricing models change everywhere. One thing that this has got me thinking about is, and you posted this up as well, talking about Macintosh and Apple and the new MacBooks and what's going to go on. They've got a new chip that they're putting into these things that hopefully make them work better. And I think Apple's really under the gun right now with Chromebooks and all of these Microsoft driven computers that are out there that run off the a Windows iOS, and they're starting to look pretty darn good. They're really knocking on the door of what Apple is doing, except that it's not running an Apple iOS, so it's got a little different look and feel. But they're getting much closer. They're getting much closer in the build too. Yeah, I'd say the kind of build quality, as you said, for the new some of the Chromebooks and some of this, I think it's. But the challenge is, I think that from a brand perspective and just a usage perspective, there is, you're just more comfortable. You're either comfortable in Windows, you're comfortable in Mac. I mean, I find it really difficult now to go back to Windows. I would. I mean, I'm looking at getting a new tablet at the moment, and I'm considering an Android tablet as opposed to the iPad, just because of the price point.
Right.
I think, but I really want an iPad Mini.
Okay.
So it's kind of, it's that cash, right? That attachment to the brand or brand affinity that's there. But I think you're also going to see, there was a guy from Viva Mobiles, I think at number 3 in China, and he was saying that, this was last week, that he was saying you'd think that we'd be all right, but their in-store purchase still accounts for something like, it was crazy, like 85 or 87% of their sales. I can't remember, it was massive.
Yeah.
So, some of these smaller brands, I think potentially, not that they're small, but less well known, they may start pulling away from the market as well.
Yeah.
Like Sony did, right?
Yeah.
Sony phones. So I think that would change the tech that's available to us here, because they're just, they can't. I mean, the ability to have that is there. I mean, one thing I would say, I think there almost might be a surge in someone getting a new PC or a new Mac, because for sure it's testing the hell out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never heard the fan so much on my MacBook Pro since I've been working at home. And that's because it's constant. I mean, even my wife said, listen, you ought to consider trying to book in yourself at least 30 minutes for a lunch break.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're just working through, you've got like a sandwich or a bite to eat close to you, but you're constant. And I think that this, shows you, I mean, I had that issue with the power, it fixed itself this week, but the fan, I didn't even realize there was a fan on these things. But it really kind of kicks in now. And some of the things that we're using, where you've got Chrome open, there's a lot of memory usage. Where we've got Zoom open, Zoom eats up memory. And then you perhaps have reminders open and your calendar and this and that. You kind of start to, I'm starting to think I need to upgrade my RAM on this, which we know is fun on a MacBook. It's not as easy as you and I just unscrewing the back and putting it in. But I think you're going to see a surge in people reevaluating the tech that they've got. I mean, I got that light ring. I bought this, which is super cool.
Oh yeah, cool.
This is like a Bluetooth, shutter.
Yeah.
So just a Bluetooth shutter. So that allows me to film through the light ring and kind of just do that, which is super cool, I think. But again, my setup now, when I was doing the webinar, we're going to start doing webinars. I need to get more tech. I need to. There's a great guy, George Thomas, who does a phenomenal podcast, and he was one of, the main driver of me getting on video on LinkedIn and everything. And he's got his phenomenal setup. He took his, you got a separate camera. You've got a great audio setup at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely going to be people kind of investing in tech, right, or looking to reinvest, because they may just be pivoting, right? They may just be pivoting.
That's the other option.
Thinking, right, sure. I need a powerful. I've always wanted to do design, but I'm sitting here on a little Chrome. But what do I do?
Yeah.
So
No, I think when we start looking at our home studios, and I think suddenly everyone can have a home studio. My son, when he was building his home studio back in Canada, really little thing was sound dampering, and this is something that no one's thinking about. I mean, I'm listening to your sound where you are; it's a little echoey, and and all you need to do is you probably need about 4, maybe 3 sound tiles. Now you can go out and buy them, and there's some interesting things. My son made his own. He made some frames and he put fiberglass pink insulation in them and then covered it with fabric, and he hangs those on his walls. And he's got about 6 of them different shapes that he's got spread out, totally dampens the sound in his room. And it works. And I'm kind of looking at that going, okay, this is something that you can get built down in the souk pretty easy. And all you need is how you're going to affix it to your wall. And in most cases, it's something like what you use, a similar kind of bracket to your flat screen TV, but just because you want them to be there. And that's easy. Yeah. That's easy stuff.
One thing I did notice is when I started looking, especially for some of the podcasting kit, there's not a lot available here.
No, this is a big challenge.
So in Amazon in the States, it's there. I mean, you even type in home podcast kit, boom, you've got
it comes in a box.
1,500 pages, actually 1,500 pages the road, and all these kinds of things. But here I couldn't even get a reliable supplier of the wireless mics.
Right.
Because I thought, obviously, because of the echo and stuff, and because where that would be a little bit better. Yeah. But I don't even have that. I think the other thing is as well that there's always been a complaint, and it's usually amongst gamers here in the Middle East, that the ISPs either throttle bandwidth or adjust the bandwidth. Because you see peaks and troughs, and online gamers realize it because of the frame rate. So when they're playing online and it suddenly it will kind of freeze and everything, we don't tend to see it, but I'm seeing a lot more of it where I'm on Zoom so much. So this probably is the first time I've had a crystal clear connection to you since we've been doing this. Yeah. Right, without it jumping in and then slowing down. Yeah. So I think. The other thing that's interesting is, as much as the networks have done a pretty, bang up job at the moment of making sure people are connected, I think they're going to be looking at how do we manage data? How do we, how do we make sure that people are connected properly? Yeah. Because everyone's connected. You're at home, so your kids are watching TV, or your wife's watching, or she's online, or whatever, right? Everything's online. So you just need to kind of manipulate that bandwidth. Yeah.
I think you almost need the Wi-Fi doctor to come in and do a nice analysis of your router, see what how many devices, because I think people forget, if you've got your computer running, the wife's got her computer running, you got your tablet running, you got your phone, suddenly you've got 12 devices. Most routers, depending on the standard out of the box one that people buy that's really affordable, it's good for about 6 items, maybe 7, then it starts sharing it. You've got a big pipe coming in, but your router can't accommodate the users. So you're done for. And I don't think people realize that. You almost need someone who rocks up with the PowerWorks truck, and they do a quick scan, and then they open up the back and say, look, we got 4 options with us. These are the best. Don't go looking around, and why don't we sort you out? And we're going to do it at a great rate and show you how to do everything.
The amount of people that have kind of done range extenders, where their Wi-Fi connection is pretty poor, and they've in that corner of the house that they've been locked away in for their home office. They now obviously have got that. But also, you've got a challenge of people's workspace. A lot of people have shared co-op, shared accommodation, and there's one kind of bandwidth coming in, and so all of that, you may not even have any control over the internet service that you've got, right? So that's true as well. Yeah.
Andrew, I hate to do this, but we got to wrap things up because you've got a meeting to go to. I've got a meeting to go to. We got so much going on. You have been listening to Tech Talk with Andrew Thomas from digitalnexa.com. My name's James Piecowye. This is Podaholiks. If you want to get in touch with us, Podaholiks with a K at gmail.com. Hit us up across the socials, Podaholiks with a K. And however you're listening to us, give us a rating, leave a comment, and share the link. This is Podaholiks.